Testing. I think we're live. Okay, guys, let's get started. Let's get everybody started. Welcome to the Arundel Camera Club. Welcome. Good evening. Thursday, August 31st. My name is John Milliker. I'm the club president for the 2023-2024 season. The Arundel Camera Club was founded in 1957 and exists to promote the art, science, and education in all aspects and fields of photography. For more information about us, please visit arundelcameraclub.org. We are, again, blessed and happy to be here live at the Severna Park Baptist Church in Severna Park, Maryland. We are located at 506 Benfield Road. If you are nearby in Maryland, Anne Arundel County, or within driving distance, we would love to see you come in person. We've got so many people. I see so many new faces, which is just amazing. But let's get to what we have, because the church internet is acting a little funny. I'm working on my cell phone hotspot, so let's get that business out of the way on these new governing documents. As you know, Jackie and the other officers worked extremely hard on making sure that these governing documents keep the spirit and the feel of the Camera Club, but just bring us into the 21st century with a lot of the wording and the documents. We did send those out to everybody, and if you could not make it, we allowed a proxy vote by mail. The problem is I need a motion in order to bring those up to a vote. Do I have a motion? Susan.
Vote for the bylaws and constitution.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Do I have a third? Fourth? Fifth? I'm just making Jackie melt down. It's okay. Well, then, let's go ahead and call a vote. Jackie does have a list of people that have mailed in a proxy vote. All in favor? Okay. And now, how many do we need to count? These are for paid members of either last year or currently are a paid member for this year. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. She held up a check, so I think that counts. And all opposed? No opposed? Jackie, can you give us numbers from the proxy vote?
We have 5 yeas.
Okay.
Opposed.
5 yeas, no opposed. I believe that passes. That is great. Thank you all for coming, and we'll see you next week. Oh, we got other stuff to talk about. That's right. 13. Excellent. Well, we have a lot of new people here, and as used to be customary, before, of course, the pandemic hit, we asked people to come up and talk a little bit about themselves. So can you guys come up and talk a little bit about yourselves? Or if you don't want to, that's okay. No? Okay, what's your name?
Sarah.
Sarah, and your husband?
My name is Court.
Gordon?
Court.
Court. Sarah and Court. Welcome, Sarah and Court. And who else do we have here? You there, over there, sir? Absolutely. Come on up and talk a little bit about yourself and about your work, how you found us.
Wasn't prepared for this, but
That's okay.
I'll do my best. Is this thing on? Is this good?
Should be.
Okay. So my name is, hello everyone, my name is Kenneth Aston. Photographer with a lot of experience, prior Air Force photographer. I live in Glen Burnie, Maryland. Joined the club just to get to know some more people that are photographers, excuse me, and to network and just, build relationships with folks that are photographers and things along those lines. I'm starting to branch out a little bit and start doing stuff, shooting things on the weekends and, generating a little bit of income. But I'm currently public affairs photographer at the U.S. Naval Academy. That's where I work, full-time, every day. So, and people always ask me, what do you do as a photographer? I'm like, there's a lot of things to cover out there. We do a lot of events at the Naval Academy, the air show that comes out there, the Plebe Summer, I-Day, tons of different conferences, things along those lines. And I shoot mostly like 80% of the portraits. And no, I take that back. I shoot about 99% of the portraits there. But we have another photographer also. She does a really good job. And this is probably on YouTube. Oh no. But anyway, yes, that's it. So that's who I am.
Excellent.
You know.
Thank you, Ken. You, sir, would you like to come up and talk a little about yourself? Okay, that's fine. Sure. We gotta be out of here by 9:30, okay?
Let's see. I like to thank the Academy.
One of these guys, huh? One of these jokesters.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ken Temple, and I am a photographer like the rest of you guys. And I have my business name is Temple House Photography. www.templeHousephotography.com. I do mostly portraits and headshots, but I dabble in a whole lot of different things. And I've been doing photography for a long time. And I'm a life learner or student of photography. I live in Severn, married, I retired twice, and my hobby is I'm a leather worker.
Very cool.
I didn't hear you. What is it?
I do leather.
Leatherworking. Let's come up.
Bags and
Okay, well, somebody does not want to come to the front. What is your name?
My name is Monique. We just moved to the US from England. I am a hobbyist, not a professional photographer. Yeah, just dabbling in and out.
Okay. And are you guys together?
No.
No? Okay, well, welcome, Monique.
Until 5 minutes.
Hey, that's awesome. Come on, would you like to come up?
She's shy, I'm not. Hi, my name's Bob, and I'm a cameraholic.
Hi, Bob.
I'm Bob Bloom, recently relocated from Cincinnati, Ohio, and I'm a lifelong hobby photographer. I have zero commercial interest in photography. I just like making pretty pictures. And I have, over the last several years, specialized in black and white film photography. So I do very little color or digital, and most of what I do is portraiture and street photography. To that end, I have converted, I shoot black and white film, I develop it, and then I scan the negatives and work with those minimally processed in Lightroom and Photoshop. Photoshop mostly just for cleaning up dust spots off the negatives. But I do adjust the contrast. I have converted printers using a system called Pisography that only prints black and white. And as a result, I have much more control over my black and white prints than people trying to print black and white on a color printer. So I can vary the tonal quality and a lot more. To that end, I have a rather large Epson printer that's looking for a home. I need a space to set it up, so if anybody's aware of 250 square feet that is lockable and I would have access to, I would love to speak with you.
Excellent. Thank you, Bob. We're getting more and more film people. Christine and I also dabble in physiography, and then we have Ryan and Hope. I think Ryan works in physiography as well. I think that's everybody. Is that everybody?
It's a deep subject you can spend a lot of time on.
Oh, yes. Physiography is basically encapsulated carbon. And what we do is we take Epson printers and we either flush out the cartridges or buy new cartridges, aftermarket cartridges. And then all the inks are encapsulated carbon, so it's completely a monochrome across every ink cartridge. It's completely monochrome. And the density, when you hold up a negative to the light, is better than Stouffer step wedges, I think. So you can really dial in any process with that stuff.
And I've had a lot of training so far.
Awesome. Good. Well, that's great. I'm glad to have you guys here. Such a great reception of new people and the people whose smiling faces we always love to see. Christine unfortunately could not make it, but I asked the officers to talk a little bit about especially the contest and programs chairs. So I'm going to read what Christine wrote just to get us started, and then I'll move over to our contest team. Christine writes, "Good evening and welcome back to another great year of the Arundel Camera Club. We have a bunch of great programs planned, including some great ones from some of our own members, including Hope Brooks and Ryan Maurer in September and October. In November, we have a program on food photography by Matthew Hansen and a program on the art of business headshots by Vicki Gray. In the new year, we have Padma and Guba back, as well as Harry Crossan. I think I saw Harry on the stream. There are still openings for programs in the spring, and she would love to have more club members step up and talk about something. I've always said that among us all, there's no topic that we can't cover."
I sent a message back. I'm only working the April already.
Okay. So as long as you sent her a message, she's good. And even if you don't think you have enough to talk about it, to talk about and give a presentation for the entire club meeting, we can pair you up with some other club members and have 2 or 3 or 4 people kind of talk about something they really know. And so I think that's a big thing. There are still openings for programs, as she said, if you join together. She plans on doing her cyanotype program that we did last in the school, which was absolutely huge. Everybody seemed to love that. And she has asked me to do she told me I've never done my history of photography speech here for the club, but we'll probably do some demonstrations of tintypes as well. I haven't had a chance to do that in probably 5 years. And let's see, she looks forward to another great year and hopes that our members enjoy everything that we have planned. So thank you, Christine. Ron, would you like to come up and talk a little bit about?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Bob, you want to come up here with me because you're a co-conspirator with this stuff. And we're sort of unprepared because my iPad I left at the house, and I've got the presentation here as well as behind me, so we can kind of talk through this. So, do you need this up, John?
That's all for you.
Okay. So for the new folks, we have a different theme every other month that you shoot to, and we have our competitions around it. So and we collect points. You accumulate points for the pictures you win with. So we'll talk a little bit about how that's done. We'll also talk a little bit how to prepare prints and how to prepare some digital images for competition. And Bob, anything else?
I look after the transmission of the pictures as they come in. We have a site where you submit the picture, and the submission process will check that the pictures are the correct size, namely they're at least 2048 pixels across. And then what I do is download those, and then I send the acknowledgement so you all know your pictures have been received. And I do that in the background.
So the title remains, but then he'll hide who the photographer is when the files are in front of the judge, and so it's as unbiased as we could possibly make it. So let's take a look at what we want to talk about through here today, and anybody interrupt us at any time if we're skipping over something or we need to be talking about something.
Do I need to turn the lights out so it's glare for anybody? No?
Okay. All right, so you have a monthly digital contest, and so it's broken into 2 types. So about the second Thursday will be a digital contest, and then usually the last Thursday of the month. Huh? Fourth Thursday, yeah. That'll be your print contest, so we'll talk about preparing both of those. So that'll make it kind of interesting, and I want to talk about how you can select and track your images. Some of us been doing this a long time, and you do it different ways. Bob and I can talk about how we do that, because what you don't want to do is win with something in January and resubmit it for a contest 2 months later. So you want to make sure you're only submitting prizes that have not won and you only have so many submissions on them and all that. We'll talk about how that goes. And also how to prepare your prints for submission. So the program side of it goes with this in the respect that Christine is trying to put programs that'll kind of get you a chance to get a little bit of experience and maybe even some shooting opportunities prior to the contest. So it's kind of hand in glove, some months maybe more so than others. And many of us, we sequence the topics we'll be shooting through the year so that we could give you adequate time to get things prepared. So in other words, flowers isn't going to happen this month. Some of us were shooting that over the summer. We'll give you time to get your flower images ready because you don't just take it off the camera and you turn it in. You want to kind of get it where you want it to be. Anything else there, Bob?
Not I can think of immediately.
Okay. Well, let's roll on and we'll kind of fill in the blanks. So we have open competition, which means anything goes in September, November, January, and March for those 4 months. And then the in-between flowers we'll do in October because we'll give you a little time to get your summer images and all that done. Then in December, we'll do craftsmen, artisans, and musicians. And these themes here are ones that we worked through at the end of the year and we voted on as a club and decided that these were our choices. And then John led our executive team to kind of talk through when to place them so that they would be there at the right time. So you got craftsmen, artisans, and musicians. And by the way, this is on the website, so you don't have to copy everything down. So craftsmen, artisan, and musicians. And then February, sacred places, and we'll show you a little definition on each one of these. And of course, night photography in April, because we figured that's a little hard one.
We're in advance.
Pardon me?
The wrong years.
That should be a 3.
Yeah, Mike and I were doing this quickly on the phone. So if you get extra points for finding the mistakes we make, because there are quite a few. So, okay. So here's our October theme flowers. We'll go back and talk about the open in a little bit more detail then. So Mike went out and pulled a couple of images from the club members in the past year. So we've all been doing flowers. This is a pretty long definition. And guess how the definition was put together? Used a little, AI. So we all kind of liked it. So it's challenged as a photographer to capture the beauty, colors, and or intricate details, various types of flowers, employ composition techniques, experimenting with angles, perspectives, framing, to complete virtually captivating images. Focus on a single flower. I hate to read to you, but I need to get it in my head as well. Or incorporate multiple flowers to add depth and complexity. Utilize different lighting conditions, emphasize the unique colors and textures of each flower. This genre of photography aims to celebrate the natural world's beauty and intricacy, showcasing the transient nature of life and evoking a sense of wonder and appreciation for nature's splendor. So it's usually harder to shoot to a theme than it is if you have an open month, which we do have starting tomorrow for the month of September, for example. So that's the general definition. So it sounds like it's about this wide as far as the definition of flowers, and many of us have some sitting on the countertop in the kitchen that are decaying that might be good subjects right now, as I have right now in my house. In December, remember in November, we'll do open again. In December, we're going to do craftsmen, artisans, and musicians. And by the way, that's my brother-in-law. He's not nearly that good-looking a person. Okay, and this theme is focuses on capturing the essence and creative spirit of individuals. You read. I'm tired of reading. You have more interesting voice than I do.
That's debatable. This theme focuses on capturing the essence and creative spirit of individuals, excelling the artistic pursuit, It highlights their distinction, skills, passions, craftsmanship, showcasing the artistic process, attention to detail, and unique personalities of of these individuals. The theme invokes intimate moments, interactions capturing the artists at work, their tools, their materials, techniques, as well as the environments where they create. Lighting and composition are carefully utilized to accentuate text and details, while framing creates a visual narrative of the artist's journey. Ultimately, the theme celebrates creativity, diverse artistic expression, offering a glimpse of the world, talented individuals who bring beauty and inspiration to the world through their crafts. One thing I'd add is the final arbiter of what belongs in a theme is the judge on the night. Some judges do very well, some judges don't. But keep that in mind. What you might think is, say, a flower, a judge might not. And one thing that would interest me is, would paper flowers, handmade flowers, be acceptable? And the only way you'll find out is to put an image in and see if the judge takes it.
In past contests, we've had judges reject images because it wasn't obvious to them that it was for that theme. They just couldn't see the match. So I would be a little bit cautious to make sure. I mean, you want to be innovative, and the more creative you can be, it's great for the judge. They like to be stimulated with something different. On one hand, the other hand, don't get so different that you have to go from here to the barn in order to figure out how it's a flower picture or whatever. So just food for thought anyway. By the way, any questions as we go through this? Yes?
Who are the judges?
The judges, we're in a course of lining them up for the year. And some of them will be for online contests, we'll be doing when they're digital, and some in person. And almost all of them are people who are practiced photographers, have a lot of experience and are well respected in the area. And we do have among our judges, Maryland Photography Alliance trained and certified judges. I'm one of those. And we're trying to get some more of those in the club too. But mostly we like to get judges from out of the club. We don't want to have somebody on the club doing this because, trust me, by the time you get to November, I can look at a picture and I'll tell you who did it because I know your style. And a lot of us will be able to do that. Yes, sir.
Are you going to tell us how to make submissions?
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get to the mechanics. So we wanted to we think that February sounds like a interesting time to do sacred places and reverence because by then you've had the holidays and so on. John?
It was Vicky, right? Sarah, I'm sorry. Just to kind of expand on Sarah's, can you talk a little bit about why we won't tell people who the judges are? It's kind of a secret until that night.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't want you to know ahead of time. There are clubs that will advertise it. I go to judge a club sometimes. They know it's me. They'll go to my website, look at the stuff that I've done, and say, okay, this is kind of what they're leaning toward, or they'll look at past records for their club, and to see what kinds of things that person selected. So it's really, and in the end, judging is kind of an imperfect process. You know, you end up with, they do a very, you're thrown into this, you do the best judgment you can. We'll give the judge the definition so they know what to do. But in the end, it's your picture. So the judge is going to give you feedback, and sometimes they'll say, I understand what you're trying to accomplish here, but I think it will have better impact if you do this. And then, of course, we lay out all the winners out on the table at the end, all the ones they finally selected in the first round. We'll talk about that. And then they'll select ones first, second, third, fourth, and so on. And then we go with that. Now, points are assigned by that. And then that goes into your accumulated points for the year. And we give end of the year ribbons and such for that. But we also give ribbons during the year for Bob, first, second,
Third, fourth, and honorable mention.
honorable mentions, and trifecta ribbons too.
If you get 3 winners in a contest,
In a particular contest.
you get a special ribbon,
Yeah.
red, white, and blue.
Yep. And we'll talk about that and how that all works in a bit too. John, let's see what's next. So sacred places and places of reverence. This is going to be interesting because different people might interpret this in different ways. So it's the places of reverence. Is it a church? Well, it could be, but there may be some place that has some reverential treatment to it by somebody and for some reason. So that could be a place of reference. So you want to attend to the theme, but at the same time, you don't want to turn into the same schlock that the next guy is going to do. You all don't want to go downtown Annapolis and take a picture of St. Anne's and turn it in. You'd be competing with somebody. So make yours unique and something that really speaks to, what means something to you. Yes, sir.
Do your pictures have to come from this calendar year, or can they come from my collection?
Well,
Can you repeat that, Ron, for online?
the question is, should the pictures come from this calendar year or can they be from the past? At this point, Bob, am I correct? We have not really removed photographs for being old, but what the preference is, you're not learning anything if you're submitting a picture in from 4 years ago. Now, will I do that this year? I might.
Okay, but I'm new to it, and I never entered a competition before.
Yeah.
Ron,
Okay.
I'm sorry. I believe novice there's no restriction on that, but there used to be for unlimited. I'm going to see if I can pull it up and check it out, but it was within the last year.
And in fact, we really haven't enforced that in the last couple of years, but it's like we encourage you to try to do the new stuff because you went out last month, you shot something, you like to get some feedback on it, and that's sort of the notion, but,
But
we
that's
do.
equal for those 5 photos you have in your pocket that you think you've taken over the last 5 years, think that might be good.
Yeah.
You put them on.
Right.
Because I'm the same, I never enter
Right.
the competition.
Right, and by the way, pictures can be cell phone pictures, and a few of those, Tammy, you had one or two that won, didn't you? Yeah. So let's look at sacred places. Bob, you read that one.
This theme focuses on capturing images of locations that hold deep spiritual or cultural significance. Photographers aim to convey the sense of awe, tranquility, and a spiritual connection associated with these places. The theme encompasses a wide range of sacred locations, including temples, churches, mosques, memorials, and cemeteries. The photographs emphasize architectural beauty, detail, artistic elements, while light plays a crucial role in creating transcendence and atmosphere. Photographers may also focus on the human aspects of ritual ceremonies, or the interaction between worshippers and the spaces, conveying a profound connection between humanity and the divine.
That AI guy writes pretty well. So that's that. Would you have any other questions on the sacred spaces thing? Because to me, part of the key to that one working, it's fine to go into churches and so on and so forth, but there are other places that have a great deal of reverence, and that can be interpreted by the photographer. Okay, let's take a look at April. So by April, we're going to do night photography, and I believe that's a photograph that Mike submitted once upon a time. Fred, that's one of yours, right? And this one I don't recall, so might be Rich Stolarski. Okay, so lots of options and opportunities for tripods to get cracked out of the closet for a change. So night photography revolves around capturing images after the sun has set, highlight the distinct qualities of the nighttime lighting is reflection on here, I can't see, and the enchanting atmosphere that emerges in the darkness. Mastering low light photography techniques such as utilizing tripods, Adjusting camera settings and incorporating artificial light sources is crucial. Challenge is to create images that evoke a sense of atmosphere and mood, including creative lighting, color manipulation, and thoughtful composition. The focus is on capturing the vibrant cityscapes, starry nights, or moonlit landscapes to celebrate the unique characteristics of nighttime environments. So this is always a fun one to do, but getting really good night photography submissions can be a real challenge. And as you saw from the pictures that were initially, Annapolis is one of the great places to go for doing some of this with the streets and just enough street lights and the churches and all the other things that really make it quite interesting. So we will probably have some monthly photo shoots that we'll take a group out. And we did night photography last spring, right? Yes. And that was a lot of fun. And I think, Fred, you had some really cool images I remember you got from last spring. Bob did too. Bob was doing some usual weird Bob stuff with his photography, but we had a lot of fun. John was out. John, you had a big camera, didn't you? Didn't you have a large?
No, that was
scale?
Ryan.
Ryan's. Okay. Okay. So there are some opportunities to try all this. Okay, let's see. Any questions before we roll on to the procedures?
I'm going to make a suggestion for the new people. Go back through the club newsletters for the last year or two and just pick the months that had themes and look at the winning pictures just to see. Again, it's the judge's choice, but it'll match a winning picture against the themes. Some themes are obvious, flowers are flowers, but we found over time judges don't like big bouquets of flowers. They always tell you focus in on one. So go back through the themes and see what the winning images are, just to get a flavor that might guide you in your choices of submission.
And we have John recorded a number of the contests, and we have some of them online too. So if you've never seen a contest and don't know how it goes, it's riveting experience. But it's worth watching so you kind of see how it kind of moves through. But we fill up an evening pretty well with those. And now, what else do we need to say here? This kind of stuff is important. These are the rules. And if you do go to the website, look under competitions, you'll get down to the point that this presentation will be on there. And so you'll be able to kind of get all this out. We also have it written in our rule books and placed online more specifically. But Bob, you want to start at the top here?
All right. A photograph may be entered into a maximum of 5 monthly contests through the course of its competitive life. Furthermore, the image may only be entered into any given category a maximum of 3 times. For example, a photograph may be entered 3 times as a monochrome image, once as a color image, and once as a digital image before ineligible for future contests. Once a photograph wins first, second, third, or fourth place, it is ineligible for any monthly contest. This includes photographs entered in different categories in the same month or on the same night. Photographs which win honorable mention are eligible for future contests until they win a place ribbon or surpass the maximum number of entries.
Any questions on that? That's a real important way to do this. We give you quite a number of opportunities to use the image. Every time I submit an image and get it rejected, I keep my notebook. Sometimes I do a better job than others, but I'll write the judge's comments down, and then I'll go back and sit on my computer and look at the image and think, do I agree with this or not? If I find that this really gave me some insight, I might noodle with the picture and bring it back in later, or I might look at it and say, you know what? I think it's the judge, and that's their opinion, and I think I want to bring it in just as it is the next time. So you have lots of options. Yes, sir.
On the last paragraph there, you say until they win a placement ribbon or surpass the maximum entry limit. What's the maximum entry limit?
5.
Five.
Huh?
5.
Five.
5 times? Okay.
5 times, yeah. Fred?
If you have an image, like you took last year, we made it look like a painting. If you redo it to make it look like a picture, is that legal? Even though it's placed?
Bob, what do you
understand
think?
I'm saying?
Did you understand?
The same exposure.
You have to make the new image sufficiently different from the original.
Well, remember last year we had how it made like a painting?
Yeah.
It was all blurry.
Right.
Okay, if you took that same picture. It had it just like came out of the camera. Is that two different pictures or is that the same picture?
Depends how different they are.
Well, they're obviously different.
Yeah.
Well, same image.
If it's one has the other category, wouldn't it be ineligible because it already one?
Correct.
Right. Once,
Because it's edited differently.
Right now, we're talking about how much an image needs to be changed in order to figure out if it is a new image for
but once
competition or not.
once it wins, it's retired, regardless. So, but that's
If they
very
just
fine.
color to black and white is probably not a sufficient difference.
So
Now-
if you wanted a color, you can't put it in the box.
Right.
Not really. You,
Okay.
you need to do a bit more work to make it sufficiently different.
Yeah, that's a good thing, because I think the purpose of the club is to learn, not to keep submitting the same thing over and over.
Right. Right.
I
Okay.
just hate to keep seeing the same pictures every
Yeah.
over and over and over again.
Well, but there are images. Every now and then, you've shot an image, and you know there's something there, and you just haven't grabbed it yet. It takes a couple of times to get it there. I've had a couple that did okay that way. It took a little while to get it, so everybody had to suffer looking at it in the meantime. So here are the contest dates. So the digital contest dates are across the top here. You can go put them in your calendar.
They're also online and in the newsletter.
Yeah. And for the most part, it's like the second Thursday, roughly, of every month. And so the very first one, which will be not next week, but the following, I believe, if I have my math right, is going to be a digital. That'll be an online meeting. Am I correct?
The church has always asked for us to leave the second Thursday for them.
Okay.
There was a group that was meeting over the last year. They've kind of fallen out, and we have been officially given every Thursday throughout the month.
Okay.
Now, we still can bring judges in virtually
Right.
and work the exact same way we've done before, but we will be here in this location.
So there'll be somebody here, but we will digitally provide that that meeting digitally so people at home could watch it. Is that correct?
Well, all of our meetings are digital.
Right.
We certainly recommend people
Right.
coming in for the camaraderie and the comments.
Right.
We can't capture everybody's comments on an image,
Okay.
but it'll be to the judge, whether they're here or whether they're sitting in their living room.
Gotcha. So
We'll have the images up on the screen so that everybody can see them.
that's good. So digital contest on these dates, the first contest of the month, more or less. Separate contest so any one evening. Bob, I want you to just explain what happens in a one evening contest, a digital contest. How's that going to work?
After all the images are submitted to our online site, and I prep them up and send them off to a judge, we go through each image on the screen, and then the judge sees them a second time and critiques each one and does the in-out on the second pass. And that's the way we whittle it down to the first through fourth and honorable mentions. When we do print contests, people bring in their prints. and we stack them up according to color, monochrome, novice, and unlimited. And then we have a print box that will illuminate the image. And we've just beefed up its light source, so it's now 5,000 Kelvin. So it should look pretty good this year. And the judge sits about there, and we have the box here, and we dim the lights, and then we go through the images one by one, and then a second pass, we go through them again, and the judge critiques them. Critiquing is probably the one thing we try and emphasize on the judge, to basically explain his thought process, because it's partly a learning exercise for the rest of the club as to what makes a good image.
So if we were having a contest tonight, first thing we'll do is novice monochrome images. So we'll go through and have that as a separate competition just for novices. So novices do not compete with unlimiteds or vice versa. So they're separate. So novices, and we'll talk about how to place yourself to start the process. But anyway, you have a novice contest, monochrome. And this year we'll have right after that, we'll have a unlimited. We use unlimited instead of advanced, but unlimited monochrome. So have to help the judge along. The judge has got his head into monochrome. So we'll do the monochrome contest for the novices and then for the unlimiteds. Then we have a third contest that will be novice color, followed by unlimited color. So there are 4 contests in prints. Okay. In digital, it can be anything. So there will be a big difference with how this goes. So in other words, if it's you submit up to 3 images for the print for the digital contest. They can be black and white, color, whatever. John?
We have a question online by Harry. Will the digitals have a theme as well?
Yes. If we in any month, if there's a theme, it'll apply to both the print and the digitals. Yeah. Okay. So I may have confused you there. So we do the online is 3 images you get to submit, and they could be color, black and white, or whatever, any of those. Then when we get to the print night, you get to submit. Yeah, and I screwed up here, didn't I? Yeah, 3 print, 3 black and white, and 3 color. But in the digital, it's anything. It could be color or black and white. Okay. For the most part, you submitted it as a online digital image, and you like it, but the judge didn't. You have a couple of choices. You can maybe bring it back in the print contest at the second contest of the month, or you can hang on to it and use later on, or you can do something different with it and turn it into something else. But once an image hasn't made it in the contest, you have choices of what to do with it. If you really believe in it and want to go fiddle around with it and get it to what you want it to be, you got the options to do that. So I hope I haven't confused people. I got it started here wrong a bit ago. Any questions?
On digital contests, do judges get to see the images ahead of time, or are they seeing them for the first time on contest night?
Bob?
They do get
Can you take the microphone and repeat the question, please?
The question was that in digital contests, does the judge see the images beforehand? The answer is yes, because I send them a day before to the judge. The timing is usually, we close the contest on Tuesday at midday. I then prep the images and send them probably Tuesday afternoon. So the judge has them on Wednesday, and the contest takes place Thursday. So yes, the judge sees them beforehand.
That's kind of important. Now, when I judge from digital competitions from other clubs, they'll do the same thing. They'll send it to me ahead of time and I'll go through. And then there's no restriction on what the judge can do. Judge can go through and make all the determinations ahead of time, and that's that. Or they can go through and kind of build their rhetoric on each image. And I like to do that myself so I can be giving some decent feedback to the photographer. So it's not, the winners are not determined until the photographer the judge announce it at the end of the contest, even though they might go through and rank them. And what I found in judging like that is sometimes I think I know what's good, and I start talking through the images and describing it. I'll say, you know what, that wasn't such a good image after all. And then I end up rejiggering all my winners one way or the other. So, but until the judge says first, second, third, fourth, honorable mentions. And Bob, honorable mentions, how does that go?
We award honorable mention goes as follows. We award one honorable mention for every 10 entries in the contest. So if there are 10 up to 15, it's 1. 16 to 25 is 2, and so on. So basically, if you have 40 entries, you'll get 4 honorable mentions. And that has happened.
Okay, now what am I missing here that we forgot to bring up?
The sizing of the digital images.
Okay. Bob, you're mostly interested in that, the digital images. How do you size them?
Images need to be no more than 2048 pixels along the long side. And that is usually controlled by when you finally save the image in whatever program you use.
So if you click on this, we'll send I guess we ought to send an email out and let people have the links and so on to do that sometime in the next 2 weeks.
When you submit the image, it actually checks the size for you. So if you exceed 2048, it'll tell you and won't accept it. It's best to go up to 2048 to get the maximum bang for your buck, so to speak. We were at 1024 in earlier seasons, but now we can actually go up to 2048.
Bob, real quick, can you talk about naming convention?
Ah, yes, naming conventions. You start with the first letter, which is your category, either novice or unlimited, then whatever you want to call it, and then you follow on by your initials. And it's helpful if you use underscores between the words. My programs tend to get upset if you don't.
And I don't, so I give them indigestion. But
I usually catch it first.
yeah, but the key thing is it can be uppercase or lowercase. It doesn't matter here, right?
Correct. Case doesn't matter.
Okay, and this is an example of not having underscore in between every part of it. I think we.
And sometimes people put periods in, and my programs don't tend to like that either. Right. I think that's about it.
Okay. And we have yes, sir.
Going back to prints, please define it matted.
Okay, we can do that now, actually. All right. That's becoming a little bit amorphous as time goes on because Tammy has a metal print that has no frame on it. This certainly would be acceptable, but I would not recommend a metal print necessarily for a monthly contest. So, okay. So I would recommend this. Can you hold that a second? You can go buy these mats already cut like this. at the local Michael's or someplace like that, or you can cut your own. And there are $100 for a set of mat cutters, and that's fine for those of you who haven't done that. And that you need to have good presentation for it. Now, part of this does two things. One, it protects your image, and secondly, it protects the image of the person who is underneath yours, because you want to have on the back of the mat a complete mat here. This could be mat board. You notice the upper picture here is a typical photo mat, but the bottom is a piece of foam board. That's what I use, but a lot of people will use both not foam board, but cardboard like mats on the top and the bottom. It's up to you. But on this one, if I can get this open. Okay, so I have a hinge here and here. It's a piece of tape that's cloth tape. So this helps you during the year so you don't have to be remaking these all the time. So get a backboard. It could be, again, could be mat board. It could be foam board or whatever. Use this. Get it to 16 by 20. Is that right, Robert? Okay. And then we put, you set it up there. And then the tape, it's all good place. And then you use glue dots, which you can get at Michael's or a couple other places pretty easily. Put them at the bottom. Get it set up the way you want. What's that? Yes. So 11 by 14. But what's 16 by 20 is the outside. So if you, here's one, I brought this in part. It fits within. So it's less than, I think it's 20, but it's not 16. But the way the composition was, I had to custom cut this. I couldn't go up to Michael's and get it. And so we dropped it in here, and it worked fine, but I had to cut that. Now what happens though, you see, if you have loose pieces of tape and other things like that across the back, we've had images, and Jackie, I remember you had one, somebody's piece of tape or something on the back to scratch the heck out of the image. So out of respect for others, you want to do the best you can to keep that good. Jackie?
That was also a winning image. And we actually have a restriction that if you have a winning image, you cannot reprint it before the end of year competition.
Right.
So I had to get special exception to reprint it.
Right.
The mat protects your image as well. So if you just stick it on a piece of mat board and call it a day, that's the one that's probably going to take the ribbon that night. And now you have to protect that until May.
Find a shelf someplace where you're going to put your winners. First, second, third, fourth. More honorable mentions don't have to be, because you get a point for each honorable mention, but you don't get to put it into the end of the year contest. Yes, ma'am.
I was just gonna offer that you can do 8 by 10s also.
Yeah.
But as a rule, I think the judges prefer to see the images 11 by 14.
Yeah.
But 8 by 10s are adequate.
I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm sorry I didn't start off with that. As far as the images go, they can be down to 8 by 10, 8 by 12 or whatever, but this is sort of like the maximum size. The print box that we run this through, it handles this size, up to this size prints, not bigger. And the judges really can see your image better, and they usually react better to using up as good of an image, as big of an image you can possibly make. However, Cheryl Kerr can tell you that small pictures do quite well sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And Jackie had that one gorgeous one on Watkins Glen, and that was very small.
Yeah.
But you could see from behind the room that it was going to win.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the image that makes it go, but sometimes bringing it up to the size just takes it over the edge. And last thing on this, of course, you have any other questions, you want your name, you want the name of the image, because Bob's going to explain what happens in the contest and why we need that. And then you have color, print, unlimited on this one, because it was in the unlimited contest, it was a color print course, and this is the date. So, all right, Bob, and turn that over to you.
I have one question before you move on.
Yes, sir.
Does the long image have to be vertical or the long edge, or can it be horizontal?
Either way.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, as long as the final thing is no more than 20 inches, otherwise it won't fit in the box.
Actually, you know what, we can bring the print box next week, so people that are new can see it and see what its dimensions are.
Yeah.
That might be helpful.
Yeah. As well as the name of the photographer, the name of the image, and the date, and the class, there's one other thing we need to put on, and that's an arrow telling me which way up it is.
Absolutely.
Because with some abstracts, I have no idea. And also it helps if you use big letters, because when we're passing the prints through, I'm in the dark trying to read this stuff. And ideally it should be printed, not handwritten, because my eyesight ain't that good.
And make the arrow really pretty easy to read. I'm looking at all these. This goes back to 2018. Oh, wait a minute. My granddaughter did this picture. And this is her label that she put on the back. And you notice she has a nice arrowhead on hers. On my 3 examples where I did not. And this was some icing from a box of donuts. She turned it. And I believe she won 3rd place on this, actually. So who knows? All right, John, we okay for time?
Comment.
Okay.
If you don't have any of the matte sets and you intend to do prints this year, I would start checking Michael's and Hobby Lobby now.
And Amazon.
If you wait till 2 days before a contest to go and label them, they may not have them in stock.
The mat cutters, I bought my mat cutter at Michael's years and years ago, and they last forever if you want to invest in it. But you can get one for about $100 probably on Amazon if you can't get it at Michael's these days. It's a good way to cut them, but if it's your first contest, I would kind of lean toward using pre-cut mats. And I do have some mats that I bought. I haven't used them yet, but I bought them on Amazon. They're fairly inexpensive. Color mats, maybe this is a good point we ought to bring in. White is preferred by judges overall. You notice that this one did not have, on the back of it, the title's there, but there's no first, second, third, fourth, or honorable mention because the judges didn't like it. One of the reasons they didn't like it is it's not a white mat. It's usually a white mat. If it's a black mat, sometimes that makes a difference. But they really have gotten more pure about the color of the mat lately. So black or white, white preferred. And we won't get picky about the shade. This is another one that, son of a gun, in 2013, this won 3rd place. And I do remember a couple contests I did okay with them, and the judge said, I don't like the mat, but I'll give it a, 2nd place or some 3rd place anyway. What am I missing, Bob?
As a point system, first place, promotion from novice to unlimited happens when you get 50.
Yeah.
You get promoted from novice to unlimited when you get 50 points. And the points go as follows. 1st place, 8, 2nd place, 6, 3rd place, 4, 4th place, 2, and honorable mention 1. And mostly it means the longer you're in the club, the more likely you are to be unlimited, because most people work through.
Unlimited doesn't mean you're a superior photographer. That's just the number of points you've accumulated, and then you move to the next level. Some of us who are pretty mediocre have eventually, you stay at this for 10 and 12 years, you end up collecting points. So that's how some of us got there. Present company accepted. Now what will happen, so this one wins. So Bob, what do you do with it when it wins?
It gets recorded as a winner. It gets recorded as a winner. And then also on the back, we mark the win that it got and the date so that you know that it won and we know that it won, so we can keep track of which ones go into the end of year. Because
Initials it.
yeah,
So you have to look for that writing on the back of your winners. And then I would suggest you keep your tally of your points in your own computer or someplace in your own system, so you can follow that up. Jackie, however, does that also for the whole club. So we do know, Jackie, what do you do after every contest?
After they award the ribbons or the placements, Bob will hand it to me and I record it in a sheet. That sheet, once the meeting is done, is then sent out to all of the members as to this was the official results for the night. Then Russ helps and he keeps the database of where they go and who's got how many points.
Right.
So no, you can't walk up to me at a meeting and go, how many points do I have? I will look at you like you're crazy.
So when we get to the end of your competition, Bob goes through every, we'll collect all these before that, which will be at a secret location, someplace out of the country. We spent a lot of money for that one. But what we do is we'll have that contest, but Bob will go through every one of these, or I will. I did a sitting by my dining room table this year, going through every one. I look for that Bob's signature, initials, and the place, and then I go through the records to match up what Jackie had to make sure we have the right images submitted. Unfortunately this year, and we have this every year, but somebody forgets to submit their images and they don't get into the end of year consideration. And that's a kind of a big deal. You want to, if you've worked that hard and you got a monthly winner, you would like to be able to see it compete at the end of the year. Okay. So start thinking about these themes ahead of time. I have a binder by my computer that I printed out sheets that where I do a screenshot of each of the images I'm submitting, and I record for the contest coming up. I got my 3 digital images already picked out. I have all the information beside it, and I'm going to sit there and look at that for a few weeks, and then by the time we get to that contest, I'm going to decide whether I want to submit it on time. So I'm ready because I want these 3 to go in. I'll send them to the website that John and Mike have set up. Bob will go in and when they're all submitted, and he'll get them together, randomize them, and to make sure they're all carefully gone over. And then we get them ready for the contest. So they'll have to be submitted usually by, is it Monday or Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Midday, okay.
Of the week of the contest.
Are raw photos acceptable?
Pardon me?
Are raw photos acceptable, or do they have to be JPEG?
It should be converted.
Should be JPEG.
Yeah, yeah,
Only because we know we can display JPEG.
yeah. That's excellent, yeah. Okay, so do a little planning. This is actually the planner sheet that I use. I'll have a little information about the title of the image, where I shot it, and some of the telemetry, the f-stop and all that. And I'll kind of keep that together. And then as the year goes on, if it wins, here I have HM at won an honorable mention back in 1903. And then you create folders in Lightroom to hold your photos you're thinking about for contests. The ones that are winning, you want to flag them so that you know at the end of the year that you're going to be able to resubmit them for the online digital end of year contest, or for the print contest. So in other words, if you want it as a digital image, it competes as a digital image in the end of the year. Likewise, prints compete as prints at the end of the year. So they really get judged twice that way. Bob, what am I missing? Yes, sir.
I also wanted to mention that for the digital, we don't have to resubmit the digital because if it's one, you already know.
Right.
So you guys
Yeah.
just put it aside and you just keep it. So we don't
That's
have
right.
to resubmit digital.
Right.
Can you repeat that, Ron?
Okay. Diane pointed up is you submitted the digital during the year. So we know it won and we have that in Bob's records. So that means you do not have to, at the end of the year, resubmit your digital image because we know that. However, you walked home with your prints at the end of that contest. Hopefully you put it on a shelf and you remember where it is. And at the end of the year, we say, okay, start bringing them in. Put them in a big plastic bag and bring them in. And Bob moans and complains about having to fill up his car with those for a while. Bob, let's go back, John, just for 1 second. You want to clean up the images as best you can. Now, if you're a novice and haven't done this, judges will start looking for little picky things. And they usually are very gentle about it, but trying to help you know how to get it into a polished state, for competition. So the feedback's really good, but you do want to kind of pay attention to these little edits. However, you don't want to turn it into something it's not. Anything to say about that, Bob?
Talk about the textures in the skies and clouds.
Okay.
Microphone.
One of the big things that a lot of people in photography are getting interested or worried about is AI and manipulation of images and what you can do and what you can't do and what our rules are. We basically work on the principle that it should be all your own work. So you can do collages, you can substitute the sky for something else if the sky was something you took. And what I do is I periodically take random pictures of sky, usually with my cell phone because it's convenient, and I have a little library of bits of sky, sunsets, whatever. And occasionally I will blend that in, but all the elements of the image are my own.
You can't do the add sky feature from Photoshop if you're adding your sky.
If it's your own sky, you can, but if it's somebody else's or stock, you shouldn't, because it's not. The whole idea is the final image is all your own work. This also leads on to another theme of, say, taking pictures of statues or other buildings. Well, not so much buildings, but statues, art. You can do that, but you need to do it in such a way that the presentation is your own work. Just taking a picture of another picture doesn't qualify, or taking a picture of a statue.
You can submit it, but the judge is going to say, it's not, it's taking pictures of other people's art, doesn't work.
Right. I tend to take pictures of buildings, but I often focus on the ceiling. Most people never look up. So what I do is I put my camera on the floor, put it on a self-timer, walk away and hope nobody walks into it. Those I can get away with. There was one case I took a picture of a serpent and made a design of it in symmetric form. And to the uninitiated, it looked like a design of a picture of somebody else's work. And I submitted it in contest and it duly got thrown out. I then emailed the judge and said, by the way, that picture was actually all my own work, but given the information you had at the time, i.e. nothing, you actually did make the right decision. So you can play around, but be careful how the judge is going to interpret it. They're going to think about it the rational way. Those are some of the things that you need to be aware of.
Go back on the sky pictures. If you put in a composite image or several different elements, if they are all your elements, that's absolutely fine. But don't go to a CAN program and use their sky. I have a folder on my in Lightroom of about 50 different skies, and I'll look for one that is compatible to a particular image, and that would be okay. But if it's your image, let's see. Anything else? Texture. The AI generated is not acceptable. That we had a long discussion about that recently, and I don't know if I gave the information, John, to Christine, but there's a expert on AI that really helps to clarify why you don't want AI work in competitions. It has its place, but not in competitions. And we'll try to get that set up as the year goes on. But basically, it's got to be your work. So,
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
So what you're saying is if I have a picture and the picture was done on an overcast day
Okay.
and the sky is dark,
Mm-hmm.
and I made the sky more dramatic,
Mm-hmm.
even if I change the sky and use the Lightroom or Photoshop sky, I can't use that image.
Yeah, as long as the change was into from one of your own files. But if Bob, you maybe you can explain it better.
When you say change the sky, you mean deliberately adjust the contrast in just the sky, something like that? That would be
Or even if I made a sky, if I took a sky that had lightning bolts going through it to make it look really dramatic, so that, like, I'm shooting a castle, and the castle, it was just an overcast day, it was no impact at all. But in order to make it into art, I had to change the background.
Mhm.
I had to change that sky and make that sky look dramatic so that it makes the castle pop a little bit better.
If you shot that sky, you're good.
right.
It could be a composite. It's just got to be all your work. You can't go and use Adobe's built-in skies. You can't go to Shutterstock and download a moon or a snake. It's got to be all your source images.
Okay.
If you make up the lightning bolts yourself somehow, that would be fine.
Well, there's programs that do that too, like FX, Boris FX and stuff. But that's canned stuff too.
Right.
I think the Boris FX stuff is more mathematical, where it's basically when you think about a lightning bolt, all it is a brush that's doing this down your image. So yeah, there are some gray areas. Like you may have a filter that will put a texture on there. Well, that's a no-go because that's not your texture. So it's a real fine line there. But if you're adding an element that is not yours, then it's no. But if you're making adjustments with tools,
okay,
then you're
like
good.
changing the background, making it darker, making it brighter, or something like that.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, you can do all the Photoshop work you want as long as you're using your images that you own.
Okay.
Fred?
Normally a judge will see something.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
You pick it out.
Yeah. But
You change the sky, it better be perfect. But that sky better not be in focus if the trees are blurry. So if the judge will call you out.
Trying to go in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
That Adobe Creative
Yeah.
Fill, put a cloud in the sky in there, you'll never
Right.
be able to tell me.
Fred, on content-aware fill, I've heard you talk about a few images. You're a master of being able to take care of some catches. And
Well, I took a picture one time of a model, and I cut off her elbow. I put it in the generator bill and put it in. That's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know,
Okay.
that's what I mean.
Right.
Photoshop and everything, there's so many programs out there.
Right.
It really doesn't, who's gonna be pleased?
Right. JC?
Because I think the whole point is that we're here to learn photography.
Right.
Ourselves, the end is when we learn doing the photography.
Right.
And creating our own image, not sitting at the computer. saying,
Right, right.
Create me an image and bring it in. I mean, that's what are we here for?
Right.
We just might as well go home and sit in front of a computer and generate images all day long. But,
Well-
I like being in the mix, being there, taking pictures, seeing
Excellent.
That's my
Okay.
goal for being here, not to sit in front of the computer and generate an image. I mean, I learned Photoshop, yes, I learned how to read progressions and stuff like that, of course.
When you do content fill, if you overcropped it, you want to go back and pick up an inch more of content, you can clone it in from your own image. And that would be okay. But you don't go out and grab Bob's sky from another picture and put it in.
Mm-hmm.
Monique?
Just, I don't know this Photoshop. Sometimes you just have to remove something out of the photo. Just so that, is that acceptable?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
sure.
sometimes you just have a little, I don't know, sign or something.
Right.
That's all
Yep.
right to remove.
Yep.
Every tool in Photoshop, as long as you're working on your image, is okay. Now, Photoshop's coming out with some AI stuff that's going to be pooling, so that's where we're going to have to worry about hitting our rules. But all of traditional Photoshop tools, cropping, dodging, burning,
It's all okay.
everything's okay.
Photo stacking.
Photo stacking.
As far as editing is concerned, so you guys said you could remove something out of the photo, like say if it's a trash can, I'm gonna remove that trash can out of the photo, that's fine?
Yes. Yeah.
But I can't add anything to the photo that's
If it came from another photo of yours, if you want to put a trash can
Back
in.
in?
so another
Back in, yeah.
okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
If it's your trash can, you go for it.
Consider removing something digitally manipulation?
Impossible. So,
No, I'm saying removing something.
yeah, you could
Yeah.
remove it, but.
That's all.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you asked the question because it's sometimes you start to fool around with a picture and then you think, I've got to remember where the limits are. Yeah, if it's your content, you're putting back into your picture and you shot that yesterday instead of today, that's okay if it goes where it is. And partly because adding in objects you shot in another image, you really got to be good at it in order to have it look right. And a lot of us have done really bad jobs of that, and judges pick up on that pretty quickly. All right, how are we doing here? I might want to add this in. My dining room table, I don't hardly eat at my dining room table, but I'll go print pictures that I'm thinking about using them in contests. I put them in my website and I look at them on my phone when I'm waiting in a doctor's office for an appointment. I'll have hard copies of the images sometimes lying on a dining room table. And I look at them and I just walk by and think about it. And I have a buddy that has been criticized me for about a decade or two. And I'll go have lunch with him and I'll carry in some pictures and I'll say, I'm thinking about putting this in. All the feedback you can get from people, including yourself when you walk by it, all that's good. And you need to be, but you need to kind of get ready for judges to say things you don't want to hear. And then when you get past getting the hackles up on your neck over it and saying, yeah, that's something to that. Let me think about what that means. I don't always, I'd say a lot, about 50% of the time, I don't agree with the judge because the image is something I conceived and they didn't get it. And then maybe a week later, something comes together that I realize what's going to appeal to somebody else is different from what's going to appeal to me. But basically, contests are about making images that mean something to you, but communicate to other people. And it takes a little while to kind of get out of your own space. And by the way, the first contest of the year is usually the worst one of the year. The judges are critical and they hate a lot of the images, but they give you really good feedback. And I always wonder how I get worse over the summer. By the time I start in September, it's just an awful contest month. So there are all kinds of things to pay attention to. Pay attention to the rule of thirds, leading lines, and all those. But these are Scott Dine. I love what Scott says. You know, it's a suggestion. The rule of thirds. You know, have broken a third. It's a suggestion if you want to think of it that way. Sometimes it really works. One of the Cartier-Bresson, I think it is, put a book together, and it's a collection of photographs that violated all the rules. So pay attention to them. You'll hear our speakers during the year talk about how they attend to it, but sometimes people really get impact by breaking all the rules and doing it their way. So understand them, but don't feel that that's the only way to win. And this last sentence is what this strikes me. If it's your image, if you like it and you don't want to change it, bring it back in for another contest. You can do that, was it, Bob, 3 times? 5 times. We might get sick of seeing it, but you're up to do that. Okay. Bob, you want to talk about these?
These are things that I need to pay attention to, particularly blowing up an image to look for little defects. It's amazing what you find when you make it larger. Tool marks, little things like that. Halos around edges, that can often come if you over sharpen an image. You'll get a sort of purpley edge, and that will show up when you blow it up. Out of focus eyes, that's one for portrait photographers, so I don't tend to do portraits, so I can't help you with that one. Noise, that's probably comes to if you're using a very high ISO. Probably try and use a lower ISO. Sometimes there are some noise filters, I believe, that Photoshop has, which will help. Distracting objects, little things that come in from the side, lampposts out of the head, things in the background, things like that.
Sometimes if there's a light reflecting off of some object over here, look at it, and if your eye goes to that instead of the subject, get it out of there. That's okay to do that.
They often tend to be bright spots of one sort and another. And just looking at the image a few days later, you'll probably see the ones you missed the first time round. These are little things that the judges.
One of the most comments I heard last year were things that were falling off the corners, or things that were like catching something, the judge's eye, corn just didn't, or she just didn't feel it.
Yeah, there's something called border patrol, which basically you run around the edge of your image and look for things that catch your eye, because that they can get missed. And that's usually a useful tip.
Chip Baldwin, who was a president here a number of years ago, had an expression he used, walk the 4 corners. So you get the picture all done, you think you're there, go look very carefully around each of the 4 corners, look for stuff that's in that shouldn't be, delete it, clean it up, and you kind of want to get the image set up so you go right to the subject on the image. But I think about that every time I do a picture. I walk the 4 corners. I want to make sure I don't have anything intruding that shouldn't be there.
Another thing I tend to do when I think about it is, I know I'm going to crop an image, and rather than just sort of randomly bring up a crop rectangle, set it to, say, 4:3 aspect ratio or 16:9 aspect ratio, so it's going to fit in the matte. In other words, I set the aspect ratio to equal the matte, so when it's blown up, it'll fit in the matte nicely. That way, I only have to use one size mattes.
However, and I do a totally different approach to that. I put the picture together, I look at the left, the right, the top, and the bottom, and I put the borders of the image where it needs to fall. So the aspect ratio is decided by the content. Now, that said, I'm getting cheap anymore, and I don't like to make new prints, new mats. So I will look at the mats I have in my collection to see if I have one that will pretty much cover that. But it's usually the judges respond pretty well if you've been careful to put the content inside the frame, and that's going to work, and not just included something because it's 11 or 14 or whatever the size is. So now that said, Bob, I do what you do. a lot of the time. Okay. Now, this is the thing that I learned this from Fred. Fred told me something a long time ago. You sit down on the computer, you're starting to edit it, and it shakes you. You look at it, it just knocks the socks off. You know you've got a good image, and that's one of the things that look for. You want to really feel like it's doing something other than just capturing what's out there. Okay, that's us. And Bob, tell them again how to submit these things.
You go to first of all, go to the.
If it's a digital file.
Give him the
which is coming
mic,
up
please.
next.
Easiest way is to go to our club website and drill down to the submit image under contests. It's also where we have our calendar, so you'll know what's coming up. And if I'm not mistaken, next week we have what I did over the summer, which is a good way to see how we operate a digital contest without it actually being a contest.
But you'll be able to talk about your image.
Right. It'll be a virtual, you submit to that same place. In fact, we run 2 galleries. We run one for contests and one for what we call critique sessions. And what I did over the summer falls into the critique category, except we're not actually going to critique it. You'll just describe what you were doing or why you wanted to show it to the rest of the club. So it's a gentle introduction to a digital contest.
Right? Yeah, make sure you have to register. You have to register on that with your thing.
Right.
Right, that the register will get is where you put in set up your username and password to get into the site for submission.
I think we're getting the hook from John here. What do you think?
Get a little long in the tooth.
Okay.
Well done.
Okay. One thing I want to say from kind of being in the weeds over here, it's a lot of information. You only need to know a little bit. It's all on the website. Reach out to any one of us. Hey, I've got a question. The rules are plainly clear on the website. The contest team will send out an email about the digitals. What you've got to do, it's got to be JPEG, it's got to be sRGB color profile, it's got to be 2048 or smaller. The AI really kind of caught us off guard. So the contest team has done a great job at trying to really put those definitions down, what's okay, what's not, and we're not there yet. We're going to get better. But with AI coming into the scene and now Photoshop incorporating it, it's going to be kind of a bumpy ride, but we want to get ahead of the AI stuff. Now, contest entry is only for paid members. We've always had a free membership. You can come to every meeting, you can come to the field trips, you can come to the parties, you can come wherever you want. But if you want to compete, we do have that paid membership. And that is because you get ribbons, you get trophies at the end of the year. We give a membership away, so that helps us with our operating costs, and then you also get ribbons as well. Has anybody not submitted to a photo contest before? Any of you new guys? It is not scary. We're the best club for contests because it's all constructive criticism. And you may go home and kick the dog and say, that judge sucked. Well, guess what? Bring it back the next time and try it again. So many times the third image, it's on its way out and then I get first place or something. But the judges are constructive criticism. Your peers, everyone here is constructive criticism. Join our Facebook group. Tell people, hey, what do you think of this? People ask questions about how to do certain things in Photoshop or Lightroom all the time and give people recommendations and suggestions. So I highly recommend it. Contests is, in my opinion, it is the best way to up your game in photography. The judge will say, there's a big white speck in the corner, as Ron said, the Border Patrol. There's a white speck in your corner, or there's a pole sticking out of their head. This is the best way. So if you take it seriously, you come in and you take all the comments to heart, you're good. If you're novice and if you're unlimited like I am, you don't need a mat cutter. If you want to go crazy, that's cool, but you can get the cheapest mats online and you build your packet. You don't have to worry about acid-free because the image only lasts in a. Get your images in here. Don't let it break the bank. You want to go crazy, you can, but I get the cheapest stuff, and I do okay sometimes. Oh, let's see. We did talk about the crafts people in the flower contest coming up. I just want to let people know the Maryland Renaissance Festival is fantastic for that. However, I believe they don't allow tickets at the door anymore. You got to get them online. I just read something about that this weekend, so be aware of that.
And they sell out early.
Yes, which is...
And like getting there, and I'm sure it's like super parking overflow now because it's just exploded.
Yeah, what was said was they definitely sell out early. I think they've had problems with the neighborhood because they did say that. They want to make sure they don't have too many cars in the parking lot or whatever. As we said, our website is fantastic. It's got all that information. Newsletter is amazing. As Susan said, check the newsletter. We post all of our winners. We also like people talking a little bit about what they like to do. You know, Mike is very open to newsletter submissions. So with new people, we've got new interest. So definitely send some stuff to Mike there. The Camera Club has a banquet. We have a Christmas party. We have an end-of-year banquet. We have... we do a lot of field trips. We do a lot of, we're trying to get back into overnights. We've got the eclipse coming up in, what's that, April, Fred? April. The eclipse, a lot of us are planning on maybe going to, what were we talking about, Pittsburgh?
I was thinking about Pittsburgh.
Maybe Pittsburgh as a jumping off to figure out what's going to be open. Diane, would you like to talk a little bit about field trips real quick? Okay. Diane is here. Ed unfortunately couldn't make it, but these are your field trip chairs, and we have amazing field trips coming up.
Yeah, we have, our next one is at Fort McHenry, which is coming up on the 15th, 16th, and 17th of September. I sent something to either you or someone else on the group to send out. There's an informational sheet. We will send that out to all the members. And I will keep you posted and be sending out reminders of all the stuff that's coming up. It just had to get approved, I felt, before I could send it out, and I haven't been able to get a hold of Ed. So
Okay,
we will get the rest of that all fixed up.
perfect.
Okay?
Do-
But the next one's coming up soon.
Do me a favor, send an email to Mike.
Yeah.
Because he's just got to put you on the list of pre-approved people. We do have a mailing list. If you're not part of the mailing list, get in touch with one of us and we'll get you on there. Get Cheryl first. You had your hand up first, Cheryl.
So are we gonna have the trips that are geared specifically to our thieves?
Yes.
Okay, because it's really weird, in the last 3 years, I've gotten like afraid to go places, which is really bizarre for me. But, yeah, so.
Well, you got to realize the pandemic really hurt us with that, where we did a lot of field trips where, you know, we'd go to lunch, we'd go to breakfast, we'd go out there and everybody can help everybody out. We're really trying hard to get back into that. Where before we would say, hey, just show up here and get some photos, and that accounts for the contest, which we do have a club events contest at the end of the year. But that's what the field trip team is really trying to get back into, what we used to be able to do. We used to travel as a group. We used to show up as a group, carpool, and then with the eclipse, hopefully we get a really cool like overnight trip. Be awesome. Yes.
Yeah, I think that answers my question. Have your field trips are more like, oh, this is an event, just go and do your thing, or do you go out as a group?
Yes, we're trying to get back to going out as a group. Yes, Fred.
I want to put Ron on the spot.
Uh-oh, Ron's getting put on the spot.
NBA tomorrow.
And,
Hold on 1 second, Ron. Let me get you the microphone.
Maryland Photography Alliance photo contest, usually in the fall. Well, it's September 1st. For 30 days, it'll be open. There are 4 different themes, and I don't have them memorized off the top of my head. But it's more, it's easier to submit now than it was in the past. We've kind of tuned up the metrics on the website. So you get, I don't remember exactly how it is, but you get a couple of the images are free, then you have to pay for a couple beyond that. So you can go up to 4 images that address any of the 4 themes. You can do all 4 in one area or another.
Nice.
Okay. And Wildlife is one, architecture, sports, and Maryland After Dark. So again, it's wildlife, architecture, sports, Maryland After Dark. And take a look at what you have in your archives, and those don't have to be done like within a 30 days or a year or whatever. You don't really have a lifespan on those.
It can be done anytime. I looked at it.
Pretty much. I mean, I think within reason, and part of the thing within reason is if you have a really old image, it probably isn't going to be as good as something and competitive as something today. But yes, you can have a little bit of time on that.
John, one more
Excellent.
thing.
Yeah.
Put in also the code you have to use for our club for the first two.
I will.
You can send it out in an email.
I'll send it out in the email because
Yeah.
I don't have it in my brain mail.
Ron is also, not only as our contest chair, he is also the representative for the Maryland Photo Alliance, which our club is a member of. So you get some special benefits for that as well. I think we're really close to that being it. Contests, it's nice to win a ribbon, but any of the old hats, I don't even think we take ribbons anymore. The amount of information you learn from somebody seeing your image. Several of us are professionals. We do this as a living. So sometimes we just throw something weird in there to just see what somebody's going to say about it. So, don't take contests too seriously, but you're going to learn so much. Yes.
And that 1 month that you just haven't got the time where your head's not in it, is that right if you don't submit anything?
Yeah.
It's okay. However, it gets a little competitive at the end of the year. Photographer of the year, we have their awards at the end. But sometimes, yeah. So that's what the good thing about the club is. It really tries to motivate you. You really don't want to miss that month. But let's be honest, we've all missed a month just because it was too crazy or whatever. No big deal. No big deal. Any questions? I know we've talked about a lot of stuff. I promise you it's online. And I promise you every officer of the club is welcome for questions.
The dues, are you paying that? You pay that tonight?
Yes. If you'd like to pay that tonight, see this lovely young lady right here. Bob, what did you have a question about?
We have some cards on the table with the web address.
Yes, we have business cards here. You all know probably all about us, so you don't probably need it, but if you have friends that like photography, please hand them out. We're trying to get back up to our previous numbers before the pandemic. So, the more the merrier. It's a great club. I liked it so much I became the president. Thanks to the help from somebody over here. She's not paying attention. But seriously, if you have any questions, reach out. We're here to make everybody more comfortable in photography. Okay? Yes, Diane.
I have a comment to make. This will be my beginning of my 3rd year. I started in digital when it was COVID. And I didn't really get to see and have that community. And this is very inspiring tonight to see new faces. And I can't wait to start chatting with you online. I'd say either go to my Facebook site or just go and just text me directly. It's the easiest way, but I'm really inspired and I'm willing to help anybody out with Photoshop or just want to hang out. I like to go places all the time.
Yeah, the entire club. You post a question. There's a dozen ways to do everything in Photoshop. You'll get a dozen different answers. And heck, we've been known to jump on like a virtual call and share screens and figure it out. That's how really welcoming our entire member and officer base is. You're going to get an email shortly about submissions for the What I Did Over the Summer. It's a great time to show off some of your stuff. Are we doing 3 images, but name them in the order that of importance?
That would be good. That way,
Okay.
if we have a whole bunch of them, we can kind of pick and choose.
That way you'd make sure you get through at least one of every image or 2. It's a good chance to talk about your photography, talk about yourself, and other people can kind of chime in and say, I like what you did, I didn't like what you did, and then we just go slash their tire afterwards, right? Right? Yes, sir.
Is there a member directory on the website?
No.
Yeah, no.
No, you'll see it, you can access it, once you get some emails going.
Yeah. But if you really have a question about something special, hey, do we have any members that, shoot 4x5, or any members that use this weird piece of software, then the officers can kind of help you. Because the membership, we do kind of pull a little bit of information. Like, what do you like to shoot? What cameras do you like to shoot? What kind of subjects? And, but yeah, we haven't really done a available membership for a while because some people just didn't like their information out there. Yeah. Last call for questions.
Is everybody on the Facebook page as well?
Yeah.
Join the Facebook?
Yes, join the Facebook.
Yes.
Good.
That's where, yeah, because I posted stuff in the group, got some feedback, I first joined in there.
Yeah.
It's like a
Yeah.
very active group. I'm kind of asked.
Awesome. Well, with that, I want to thank everybody for coming out. See us next week. Apparently, Christine is home. She messaged me that she's home. She's our programs chair, and I hope you love this group as much as I did and do. It's a really great group. All right, thank you all for coming out. Oh, yeah.
Glass jars.
Come over here. I thought you said the paper was taken. I thought you said the paper was already taken.
Well, Lewis said, but he's not here, so it's got 17 like rolled paper.
We do, but if Lewis wants it, yeah, that's true. Yeah, can you use it?
I don't have a printer, but it's like I would use it for other stuff. But if you have a printer,
Oh, that's good stuff. That's Moab, yeah.
this is really cool.
You want to print that stuff? It's metallic
I know. I'll
pearl.
go buy me a printer. And you can
Do it.
print everything out. I can share it. We can like cut it.
Okay, I got some.
It's like Christmas, isn't it?
It is.
Free stuff. I should have brought some.
Oh, gorgeous.
It's just like an old-fashioned tripod-looking thing that was like ancient, but now I use it on my cell phone. Like, oh.
Chuck, I gotta take this. I gotta take this and get it working. It's such a beautiful camera. I will. Thank you. Oh, rolling flex. Yeah, but it's got a screwed up shutter, so I gotta send it in for a CLA.
I've got it's the one where you pop it over. I got a 20-inch sheet cam. I got a 4x5 view camera with the graphics speed.
Nice.
I got 2 of those.
That's awesome.
I don't know if shutter's messed up. And then dark 4x5
Or just
and a Polaroid.
Awesome.
I'll actually like cut it and bring it back.
Right. So it doesn't scratch.
So take there, and then hit the blue dots.
All right, I think we're out.